Yes, and he was not there.
Okay. Larson,
Here.
Leeper, obvious.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Ms. Prideaux, I believe, is absent, right? Julie, she's not logged in, right?
Correct.
Okay. Saul,
Absent.
absent. Sears,
Here.
All right. We do seem to have a quorum, so we're going to call the meeting to order. We have a couple of
Not
minutes.
here.
What's that? What did
Scott is here.
Dale's here too. Sorry, Dale. Dale's joining us via Zoom. So we'll call the meeting to order. We have a couple of minutes to approve. One is the regular commission meeting minutes from our last meeting on February 24th, and the other is our work session minutes. So I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Is that for both of them? Is that your motion for both? All right, great. I like that. We can combine things. So first item on the agenda is open up for public comments. And this is for items that are not on the agenda tonight. If there's anyone that would like to join via Zoom, you can raise your hand in the Zoom session. And by phone, I think there's the instructions are on the website, *9 or something like that. Do we have any?
I'm seeing none in Zoom.
Okay, no public comments. So with that, we'll start with old business. And we have Central Business District Overlay Site Plan Review, which is being deferred to the future meeting. So I don't know that we need to do anything formally with that, but we will defer that.
need a motion to defer?
We need a motion.
Motion to defer? Second.
All right, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I don't know if we need to do that, but we did. Next item in business is land use map amendment and rezoning from M1 to Highway 1 on 709 Nordic Drive. Who is going to be presenting that?
We have Mr. Seavey tonight.
Okay.
Speak right into the mic.
So, have my PowerPoint up.
Karen, do we need to open the public meeting before that or not?
Yeah, you need the public hearing is open,
Okay,
right?
declare the public meeting open.
Okay. Well, this will be just a quick review of what was presented previously at the February 24th meeting. The applicant is requesting a rezone from M1 to Highway 1 in order to accommodate an institution for human care, which is one of the few prohibited uses outlined in the M1 Light Industrial District. The property is
Go through the slides. It's on TV.
The property is located in the industrial park close to the intersection of Highway 58 and Ridgeway Avenue. The actual parcel is at the top of the area outlined in yellow on the screen here, which parcel is indicated by a star. The reason that a larger area is outlined is because the entire outlined area should be amended in the future land use map. We'll talk about that. So currently it is designated for industrial uses on the future land use map, which is violet or purple color on the map. It will need to change to a commercial corridor, which is designated by red on the map. And the area is shown in red here. I wasn't kidding when I said this would be quick. Staff supports these changes subject to the condition that the parcel be brought into compliance with the Highway 1 landscape and setback standards. However, as we have been discussing a zoning agreement with the applicant, it seems they may need more time to crunch the numbers and work with their potential tenant of the property. I understand they're in attendance right now on Zoom. I'll let them speak on the matter, but if more time is needed, we recommend keeping the public hearing open and continuing to the next meeting.
All right, are there any questions for staff before we go to the applicant? Okay, is there anything the applicant would like to speak to on the issue? If so, you can raise your hand on the Zoom call.
I don't see anybody with a raised hand.
Okay,
We did have correspondence with the applicant on this, and they did request that it be continued to the next meeting.
okay. Do we know what that is? Okay, if the applicant's not on line, any public
Oh.
comments?
We do now. We do have a hand.
We do have it now?
raised, Yes.
Okay, we have the applicant. If you could give your name and address.
This is Lydia Brown, and I am at 630 Beaver Hollow Court, Southeast in Cedar Rapids. I'm with Skogman Commercial Realty, and we are representing the property owner in this matter, and we are in the process of, as Chris mentioned, trying to understand the financial impact of making this change. And so we just are requesting that we keep the public hearing open until we get that finalized.
All right, thank you. With that, do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak to this issue? First of all, are there any questions for the applicant from anyone? All right, anyone from the public? If there are, you can raise your hand.
Seeing none?
None? We'll bring it back to the commission for any questions or comments. All right, so we're not voting on this, we're just continuing it with an open public hearing to the next meeting.
Right. A motion to continue?
Get a motion to continue, please.
I move to move it to the next meeting, please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will move that on and open the public hearing. New business, we have Imagine College Hill Vision Plan, and who is going to be presenting that today?
I will just introduce the item today. This, as you recall, this was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on February 10th, and it's been open and available for public review for the last month. The city's had a survey up on the web, and as you recall, there's been quite a bit of process with this plan. It was kicked off last January, and with the city council setting some priorities for this plan. And there was quite a few public outreach events, both a public kickoff meeting in January. And then, of course, things got delayed a bit with the pandemic. We wanted to make sure that people have an opportunity at UNI and the students at UNI to participate. So we delayed the charrette until later in the year when the students were back on campus. And the community could engage again in that. And we had our virtual charrette at that point in time. And the College Hill Partnership has been involved in the process the entire way. So we want to thank them for that effort. There are a few project priorities that, if you could go ahead, advance the slides a little bit more here. So in the plan, there is an executive summary, there's our project introduction, there's an analysis section about all the efforts that were done to study the area. Of course, we had our charrette week, and then they're establishing the vision in the plan, and then it talks about the next steps, and there's appendices with a lot of the background information that's in the plan. So in the executive summary, just to go run down through the plan recommendations, this is what we heard from the community, and that's why it's incorporated into plan. What we heard was build on the good work of the College Hill Partnership. Define the public realm with active building frontages, improved sidewalks, and additional street trees. Ensure that future street and sidewalk rebuilding enhances the walkability of the area. support a multimodal environment, and understand the market, particularly as it relates to student housing and new construction and parking, and leverage opportunities for growth on College Hill, to create gateways to College Hill to provide a sense of arrival and identity, explore opportunities for new and improved public spaces, adjust the rules for development and parking to realize the vision of this plan, and recognize that College Hill and the nearby neighborhoods play a unique role within Cedar Falls and warrant targeted approach. Create a better process for development review and approval, and establish a true bicycle network, and then of course coordinate parking supply and management in this area. Go ahead, click it again, Chris. So some of the big ideas that came out of the planning effort was to stabilize and enhance neighborhoods, to concentrate and intensify student housing near the campus. UNI has indicated that students do better when they live on campus or near campus, so we want to focus on that. And then reconnect the upper hill and the lower hill, meaning the area along College Street, and treat natural areas as amenities that add and maintain street trees, and look to the Dry Creek watershed to look at opportunities for greenways and that sort of thing. And then, of course, to manage parking better. And one of the biggest focuses is really this is a walkable neighborhood, and what can we do to improve the walkability and the comfort for pedestrians and bicyclists. Is that it, Chris? And then the final one is, there was a lot of discussion about the diversity of businesses on College Hill and finding new ways to do more retail and dining opportunities on the hill. So finally, here we are in the process right now is to review the plan and have the public provide comments and questions for the commission and for staff and the consultants. We have Mary and Jeff on Zoom tonight. Mary and Jeff from Farrell Madden here to answer any questions as well. There'll be another meeting on March 24th, and then whatever the commission feels you're ready to make a recommendation to council, that'll move on to city council for plan review and adoption. And then following that is the intent is to then to update the zoning code similar to what we've been doing in the downtown area. Building on the code updates that we've done in downtown, and then release a new draft for zoning in College Hill. So I would be happy to answer any questions, but we do have Mary and Jeff, I believe, online to answer any questions as well. And we're here really to listen tonight and find out what the public thinks about the plan.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Any questions for staff? Okay, Mary and Jeff, do you have anything to add? All right, hearing none. Oh. Mary, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think the only thing I wanted to add, Karen mentioned that we've been doing a survey online for the past month, and it is still up through this evening if people want to look at the plan and respond to that. But then we will be providing the Planning Commission with a summary of all the feedback we got from the web survey.
All right, thank you, Mary. Okay, with that, I think we'll open it up. With any questions for Mary or Jeff from the commission? All right, anyone from the public that would like to speak to the item? Name and address, please.
My name is Catherine Sogard. I am the Executive Director of the College Hill Partnership, and I'm at 330 Columbia Circle in Waterloo. So I handed out, or staff was gracious enough to hand out a letter that we drafted from the College Hill Partnership, and I'll just go ahead and read through for, since we didn't get it in ahead of time for especially Dale. At our March 8th College Hill Partnership Board meeting, after reviewing and hearing a brief recap of the proposal from city staff, the Board of Directors voted to support the Imagine College Hill Vision Plan. Our organization is encouraged by the current proposed plan, which will hopefully lead to the code changes that will spur a renewed excitement in our district and lead to additional improvements. It is no secret that the current code has left developers, commission and council members, our organization, and many members of the public questioning how to move forward with any proposed developments or improvements to our College Hill neighborhood overlay. This plan will allow College Hill to move forward in a way that supports the neighborhood, university, and the city's vision for a thriving district. We might be biased, but we believe College Hill is one of the areas that could bring the most impact to the city of Cedar Falls. Because College Hill is the front door to the city from the University of Northern Iowa, we are the first impression that future students and their parents see when they visit UNI. A first impression is essential, not just when entering the business district, but also for when exploring the College Hill neighborhoods. Having ample private student housing close to campus and stabilizing the neighborhoods and creating a walkable, accessible area are all elements of the plan that work as a team. This is a diversity that we would like to maintain, as it is one of the things that makes College Hill unique. We are aware that land use and planning and zoning policies have historically intentionally negatively impacted people or unintentionally not planned adequately for all. So we hope that the final recommendation directly addresses the impacts of the plan and code changes on marginalized people and concerns such as those for affordable housing. We expect the plan to strongly emphasize the elements of diversity in the housing market, increased density towards the core of the hill, and stabilization of the surrounding neighborhoods. Doing this will create a better balance in the housing market, opening up opportunities for a variety of housing options and price points for people of all ages and financial statuses. This significant plan proposal allows for a unique opportunity to improve how we create rules, ensuring they are equitable and inclusive for all. We hope addressing the issue of impacts on marginalized people becomes a priority conveyed in the vision plan proposal. The College Hill Partnership not only wants to think of the interests of the current stakeholders of the College Hill neighborhood, but the future stakeholders as well, which we know are likely to be more diverse. At this time, I would like to thank city staff for their hard work coordinating this vision plan, the consultants from Farrell Madden for their work especially adapting to the limitations created by the pandemic, and most importantly, the members of the public who attended meetings, provided input, and took the time out of their busy schedules to voice their opinions. We hope that members of the public will continue to engage in this process because we know the more that we come together to talk about our desires, opinions, and concerns, the stronger and more inclusive our community will be and the brighter our future will become. Thank you for your time and consideration during this important visioning program.
Thank you, Catherine. Any other public comments? Is there anyone online?
Yes.
Okay, we do have one online.
Yep. Andrea Geary.
Andrea, if you could state your name and address.
Hi, Andrea Geary, 1816 Tremont Street, Cedar Falls. Can you hear me all right?
We can, thank you.
Okay, great. So first, I just want to say that I've lived in the College Hill neighborhood now since 2007, and additionally own a business on College Hill. I'm also a board member of the College Hill Partnership, although tonight I'm speaking just on my own behalf, although I do know that some of my statements will be shared by other board members additionally. So after reviewing the College Hill plan thoroughly, I'm asking the city and all associated staff to pause and reflect on several realities which I would hope could frame how we move forward with overhauling the city's land use and planning and zoning code. Cedar Falls has a history as a sundown community and is currently involved in several public conversations regarding its relationship with racism. Cedar Falls is led by a white mayor and all-white city council. The majority of our city staff, board commissioners, And in addition, key principals in the consulting firm, I believe, are also white. City planning has a long and well-documented history, as Catherine mentioned, involving a toolbox of discriminatory practices, redlining, and gentrification, to name just two. And as code is written to sometimes last for decades, thereby impacting many and shaping how we grow or diminish as a community, it's really important that we get this right. So some questions I have after reviewing the plan that I would hope the consulting firm and the city and all involved really could speak to in advance of us moving forward. Iowa, being a very white state, has a population of 4.1% that is Black. Cedar Falls, home of one of 3 Regent institutions of higher learning in the state, boasts only a 2.5% population that is Black. Why? Why are fewer Black people choosing to live here, choosing to live here than in the rest of the state? Did we ask any Black people why they do or do not live here? And what were the responses? How many Black Indigenous people of color were involved in developing the plan? How many provided feedback through public sessions? How many are seated at the table and in a decision-making capacity? How did we intentionally reach out to Black Indigenous peoples of color to make sure that they're involved? Where in Cedar Falls are Black Indigenous people of color living? Why do they live where they live? What would they like to be different with regards to their city, their neighborhood, their stores, their restaurants, their schools? Do Black Indigenous people of color agree that the preferred housing or storefront facade aesthetic depicted in the charrette also reflect their preferred aesthetic? Are cultural and racial identification related to whether or not we prefer stone or brick facades, or how open or closed our front porches are? Can the colors of the siding on our houses also too be influenced by racial or cultural affiliation? Do Black Indigenous people of color have difficulty assessing financing for home purchases, for business loans? Are there accommodations within city planning that can address that? Urban renewal efforts have frequently resulted in gentrification or removal of Black Indigenous people of color communities. How many Black Indigenous people of color live within the College Hill neighborhood? Where, why, and how will this plan impact them? Lastly, is this entire process inherently flawed, as city planning has long been tied to codifying institutional racism designed to almost entirely by and for white people? There are so many questions left to be asked, and after reviewing the plan clearly, very few, if any, answers to the above questions. Honestly, I'm completely limited in my capacity to know which questions to ask from my position of privilege as a white person. As it stands, the plan moving forward, as directed by a white mayor, an all-white city council, an all-white consulting firm, all-white city staff, and potentially approved by an all-white board at the College Hill Partnership, in Cedar Falls, once again, a sundown town currently embroiled in conversations surrounding its own difficult relationship with racism. Full disclosure, I have no degrees in city planning, but to my eye, there are some obvious omissions from the consulting firm's recommendations. And to move forward as a racial monolith without any awareness of or care of that reality cannot happen. And I'll conclude. I do want to thank Karen Howard from the bottom of my heart. She's been a wonderful liaison to the College Hill Partnership and to the public in working through this plan and making sure that we move forward in a way that is fair and just. And so I do just want to thank her publicly for her work. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Certainly pressing and important topics. Is there anyone that from staff or Mary or Jeff, that anyone would like to address these issues generally? Or we're really here to hear public comments tonight, so if not, that's fine. All right. With that, we'll bring it back to the commission.
Oh, we have one more.
Oh, we have one more. All right.
One in Zoom? Okay. Stephen Jordan?
All right. Name and address, please.
It doesn't allow him to talk.
Stefan?
do this. See if that helps. Are you able to talk?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
We are.
Okay. Stephen Jordan, 2510 Cottage Row Road, Cedar Falls. I have 7 properties with 8 total units in the College Hill District. One of them being in Zone 1, 1 in Zone 2, 1 in Zone 3, 2 in Zone 4, and 2 in Zone 5. And I just want to point out a historic lack of progression through our zoning code in allowance to infill use of properties. I think the highest and best use for some of the properties I've acquired in the College Hill District would be for redevelopment for multi-unit buildings of smaller size, which I think the plan is in favor of. And I would just hope that we would go that way to allow for that potential future redevelopment, because right now, even if I took one of my properties, say with adequate lot size for 4 units, all to have multiple stalls for parking, I can't do that because the way the zoning code reads. I do travel occasionally, Seattle, Phoenix, etc., and they are so much larger cities, of course, but so much more progressive than where we're at with our zoning code is in terms of infill. And I think redevelopment infill, we need to really pay a little bit more attention and allow for better use, as I think this plan points out. But I think the plan is well designed. One of my properties that I think would be great for infill use would be in Zone 2, and I think the plan would actually allow for that. So I think the plan was done well, and I think we do just as a city need to pay better attention to our core and being able to maybe redevelop a little bit easier than what we currently are able to.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Good comments, and certainly the changes we're making are overdue, and that's why we're doing them. So we appreciate the comments. Other public comments? I think we have one member in the audience. Name and address, please.
Ishan Vajpayee, 3831 Conver Lane. As you know, I represent several different landlords who dub themselves the concerned citizens of College Hill, and some of which are members of the College Hill Partnership. And as we heard by the first speaker from the public, second speaker, the College Hill Partnership is not a monolith. There's varying perspectives to be shared. I reviewed the visioning plan in detail, and the sketches look great. The concept, even of the park once, walk about the hill from your residence to class to various retail and dining options, is a really great idea. But unless it's all going to be sustained on the disposable income of the college students who live on the hill and can walk there, you're going to need people from other parts of Cedar Falls. And touching to the diversity issue, you're going to want to encourage people from communities with higher population ratios of Black, Indigenous, people of color to be able to come and enjoy these amenities and maybe give Cedar Falls kind of a second chance in their mind. So for those people who don't live on the hill, they're going to need a place to park once and walk. For those people who do live on the hill, they're going to need a place to park too. And to the prior speaker's point, Phoenix, Seattle, things like that, I'm going to touch on why we aren't, besides the obvious reasons, why we aren't Phoenix, Seattle, or even a town that you might think of as a more walkable, vibrant downtown like Iowa City. Spoiler alert, it's parking ramps. So a little history on the parking, because I really want to urge you, when you consider the visioning plan on one hand, you have to consider the College Hill parking study that was done, completed September 2019 in the other hand. because since then there has not been a comprehensive parking plan. The statements made in the visioning plan about the need to amend parking and fix parking, they didn't do a comprehensive parking study. The comprehensive parking study that had online survey respondents in the hundreds, as opposed to, I think, 33 people that took place in the visioning survey, does not indicate that the parking needs to be changed. So in the fall of 2018, a discussion took place because at that time, arguably, there was some uncertainty for developers about how they could develop a mixed-use building with commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. There was controversy about what was the primary use of the building and how many parking spaces for the residential you really needed. So I think statements that the College Hill Partnership made today about needing more certainty in the code, those were true back then. But then we went down a 1.5-year road of lots of planning and zoning meetings, and the ones of you, the commissioners that were present then, I'm sure remember well. Lots of planning and zoning meetings, lots of discussion with stakeholders, lots of city council meetings. And at that time, residential units had to have a lot more parking than they do now, and they had to have visitor parking. They basically had to park as if they were, you know, in any other part of town in a less dense neighborhood. There was this empty lot at the bottom of the hill, 2119 College. It was going to be addressed, and we were told then we need certainty for developers. They're clamoring to develop. They want to break ground. We need the certainty. So what happened? They got the certainty. The law was changed, and the parking requirements for a mixed-use building were reduced by about 40% to what they are now. 1 bedroom, 1 spot. For a mixed-use building, 1 bedroom, 1 spot. I don't know how much certainty they need going forward, at least in terms of parking. And that 1 bedroom per spot was the proposal put forward by city staff. And stakeholders debated it, and all the same, it occurred. But at that time, the parking study had been ordered. It was in process of occurring. And again, we were told, we need to vote on a change, a radical change, a 40% reduction in parking requirements before we get the College Hill parking study. It was that important. We have to get going. So they did. And when the College Hill parking study came out about 5 months later, it suggested a highly slighter ratio of 1 spot per bedroom. It suggested, I think the example set forth in the parking study was a building with 31 bedrooms needed about 40 spots. But the cake was baked, and we had 1 bedroom, 1 spot. And that seemed fine, according to the College Hill parking study people, as long as you did some of these other things like manage parking with timers and paid parking and tickets and permits and things like that. It seemed like it was going to work. Now it's weird though that in hindsight, and I mention this because you're going to hear again, we're just waiting on this last piece. We need less parking to build. And we reduced the parking by 40%. And that lot that had to be built, that was just waiting to break ground, is still an empty lot. And I suggest to you that they didn't enjoy what they got. They're waiting 2 more years to get another bite at the apple for even less parking to even further pad their profit margin on a particular building. So let's talk about what the visioning plan says about parking. It doesn't really highlight it. You have to really look. As lawyers say, it's in the fine print. They're suggesting between either a 0.75 parking spot per bedroom or a 0.5 parking spot per bedroom ratio in there. So that kind of assumes that 75% of people that live on the hill are going to have a car, or 50% of people that live on the hill are going to have a car. Now, these consultants, this might be their profession and their expertise, but just like in a courtroom, you as commissioners or jurors are able to take their expertise, digest it, and use your own common sense and judgment. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist. The consultants would come in, they'd say what to do, and it would just be done. You're allowed to use your own common sense and think about whether a 120-bedroom building only needs 60 parking spots, even with a restaurant on the bottom. Where are those people going to park? So if you rely on your common sense and look at the reality, you'll realize that a 75% parking ratio and a 50% parking ratio doesn't work. First, we know that one bedroom does not equal one person. One of my members of our group here surveyed about 56 of his one-bedroom or studio apartments, and 41 of them have 2 people on the lease. So we know that one-bedroom and studio apartments are having having couples or friends living together. So it's not just one person per bedroom. It seems like it's about 1.4 people per bedroom if I do my math. The UNI student survey in the visioning plan had 33 people participate. Not really a great sample size, but it is what it is. 29 of those were active students, by my count, and 84% of them had a car. That same 84% said they have to leave the Hill to do grocery shopping, visit other major retail stores, and how do they do that? In their car. And even our visioning plan proposed is not going to keep them from needing that car to go get groceries, because by its own admission, you're not going to get a grocery store on the Hill, because as we know, grocery stores, like maybe the Rooted Carrot, need about 25 to 50 spots by the visioning plan's own estimation. And we know we don't have 50 spots on the Hill to reserve for a grocery store. Turning back to the student survey, 33 people surveyed for this visioning plan. But when we were going through this, and we already went all through this in 2018, a group of College Hill landlords surveyed their buildings, 957 tenants, 95% of them had cars. At that time, the Director for Governmental Relations of Northern Iowa Student Government said, quote, "Every student I know that lives off campus has a car. There's really not a way to live in the city without a car." And she called out a specific building on the Hill as problematic, Urban Flats. The one building that before we clarified the code in 2018 got in under the radar had commercial underneath, residential on top, and got away with 0 parking. And what happened? All the tenants filled up the public lot behind it, and businesses who needed those spots for their customers were left with next to nothing and having to constantly tow cars out that were blocking them. And Kara Bigelow Baker sent an email to Karen Howard, and I'm sure she's going to send that around too. She'll tell you the horror stories of trying to run the Razor's Edge after Urban Flats come in, and you'll understand why the Razor's Edge is no longer on the Hill. You can justify not parking the commercial component and say, okay, there's public lots, there's street parking, there's going to be shared parking. But you can't then also use those public lots and that shared parking space on the street and say, oh, that's where the residents are going to park too. That's where the overflow of residents are going to park. If there's 100 bedrooms and 75 of them have cars, but you've only got 50 spots, you can't put those 25 in the same spots you want people to drive into to visit the business to park in. So the Hill parking study also had better survey participation. It had a survey with 484 respondents, not 33, 484. 144 of them were non-student visitor customers, and 80% of them said parking was important. 34% of them said parking was very important, and I'm assuming they didn't mean less parking. And 20% of them said they avoided the Hill because of trying to get a spot and not being able to. And 60% of them said trouble finding a spot influenced their decision to visit. 121 people left written comments, and I counted. 72 of them, over half, made a comment regarding the importance of adequate parking or comments indicating they felt there wasn't enough parking already as it was. Turning back to the visioning plan, it says that the current parking requirements do not pencil out. That's literally what it says. That's their substantiation for lowering the parking either further, that it doesn't pencil out for redevelopment. There's no new parking study. They don't tell us why it's impossible to build a new building under the current rules and make enough money. We're told we need to rethink parking requirements to intensify housing and reduce the cost of rental rates. But urban flats, turning back, they built with 0 parking. And the visioning plan says it's the most expensive building on the hill, $900 for a 1-bedroom, and I think $2,200 for a 4-bedroom. So which one is it? Do we need less parking so we can build cheaper buildings and have lower rental rates? Because that's obviously not the case. And if you want to talk about diversity and bringing people in, maybe lower income people in, we should have lower rates. But this is just a proof that they say one thing to get another, and then it just doesn't add up. I love the idea of the vibrant, dense, walkable district with bars, restaurants, shopping, and college housing. And I lived in Iowa City for 8 years, and I loved it. There was lots of commercial, stores, retail, grocery, bars, restaurants. There was a lot of residential on top of commercial spaces, mixed-use buildings. But if you've been to Iowa City, you also know, in that downtown district, there's not fewer than 4 huge parking ramps, so that when people come in to visit the district and visit those commercial spaces, they park once and walk. That's fine. That's a great concept. But where is someone from Waterloo going to park on the hill to visit a new vibrant retail store when 50 cars from a residential building are spilling out into those spots? And they're not moving. If you're parking once, walking everywhere, you're not moving the spot. Or will the hill just continue to be businesses that mostly college students enjoy? Vape shops, coffee bars, bars. Parking regulations on the hill have been resolved. There's no rational basis to revisit it or lower it again. There is no new parking study. There's no evidence that less parking requirements mean more affordable rentals. The evidence is to the contrary. There's only a penciled out, unsubstantiated idea that you can't profitably redevelop without parking. Maybe the highest intensity, most profitable development for builders can't take place. Maybe it just can't. But that's probably what's better for the hill. It's not about what's better for the developers. And don't be tricked into thinking that if you don't do what they ask for with all this lower parking that they're not going to build. So think about what another 200 bedrooms on the hill with only 100 spots is going to do. And people will go from claiming they don't have a trouble finding a spot to saying it's impossible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishan. Do we have any other public comments?
Seeing none in Zoom.
All right, I think that's it for here. So we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any questions for staff? Really following a similar plan that we were doing downtown? All right, if none, I would entertain a motion to set a public hearing.
I was just going to, excuse me, any direction from the commission on anything you would like us to bring back at the next meeting? We do have the consultants on Zoom right now in case they have any comments about what they heard tonight. But we were basically here to listen tonight, and if the commission would like more information on any of the issues that were brought up, we certainly can bring it back at your next meeting, respond to some of the questions and comments that were made tonight. So we would look to the commission to give us some direction on how you would like the next meeting to go, if you'd like some more information.
I guess I'd like Mary and Jeff to address the issue of parking. we're getting a lot of feedback, and that's always the issue that we deal with. Could you maybe speak to the issues that have been raised? And you guys do this all over the country. You're experts. We would like to hear your opinions on that.
I'm not sure if you're wanting to hear something this evening. If that is for next week, I'm having a little difficulty. Heard you ask what Mary and Jeff could add about parking.
Yeah, Mary and Jeff, I think it doesn't have to be tonight, but at some point, that seems to be the elephant in the room. And I think we've heard some public comments tonight, and we'd like those to be addressed and responded to at the next meeting. So nothing tonight, Mary.
I will say, hopefully we can get a transcript of all of the statement because it was kind of going in and out, but we heard quite a bit of it. And I do just want to emphasize to you all that we did not attempt to redo the parking study. We very much reviewed and incorporated that study into our work, as well as we had a market economist. I know there was concern about using the expression, how something pencils out, but I believe that we can definitely give you some more specific information on our thoughts on parking and recommendations moving forward. This is obviously the vision plan where the concept of creating the Park Once environment was the biggest idea we were trying to convey, and the study looked at different parking ratios and what different lots could accommodate, but it does not include a specific recommendation for potential zoning updates, changes. We very definitely said that those should be looked at carefully and considered moving forward, since the parking study indicated that there's currently not a parking shortage on the Hill.
Thank you, Mary. Jeff, did you have a comment? I saw your finger was up. Okay, thank you. Other feedback or things that we want staff or the consultants to address before the next meeting?
The city of Iowa City keeps coming up that, it's a good example. What is their parking requirement for mixed-use buildings in similar areas of like College Hill and downtown, like we're talking here?
Other comments? Questions? All right. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to set a public hearing for March 24th meeting.
So moved. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. With that, our business is closed, and we are going to, I would entertain a motion to adjourn so we can move to our work session.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Does anyone need a